Imagine this, in the next few minutes you'll discover a power so profound that it will make people beg to hear you speak. Sounds impossible? What if I told you this power lies not in what you say, but in what you don't say? In today's chaotic world, we're drowning in noise. Every notification screams for attention. Every opinion is itching to explode. Patience is scarce, and even a blank stare can spark a fight. Have you ever considered that the most powerful people might be the quietest ones? Remember Seneca's words. An empty barrel makes more noise than a full one. Allow me to share a story that will forever change how you view silence. In a small town on the edge of a vast desert, there lived a wise woman whose wisdom was renowned, yet she shared it sparingly. One day, a young ambitious merchant approached her, his face full of worry. "How can I earn respect? How do I make people truly value me?" he asked. The wise woman paused, listening intently, then calmly said, "Come back at dawn tomorrow. Follow me." The next morning, she led the merchant into the desert. Standing amidst the endless sands, she asked him to watch how the wind shaped the dunes, how the desert commanded respect without uttering a word. In its silence, the desert revealed its grandeur. Without speaking, the wise woman unveiled a profound lesson. Stillness can be more powerful than action, and silence can leave a deeper mark than words. From that day, the merchant applied this wisdom. He no longer felt the need to constantly speak or prove himself. Through his silence, resolve, and well-timed actions, he became the most respected person in town. By changing just one thing, he watched his entire life transform in awe. In today's video, you'll learn how to harness the power of silence in your own life. Over the next few minutes, you'll discover why the most powerful people aren't those who react to everything, but those who know when to stay silent. By the end of this video, you'll understand why speaking less often earns you more respect. But what makes this different from anything you've heard before? These aren't just theories. They're battle-tested Stoic principles that have transformed lives for over 2,000 years. Ready to explore why silence might be your greatest tool? Let's begin. Unleashing the power of silence. Have you ever felt so overwhelmed by noise that you couldn't even hear your own thoughts? It's as if the world's clamor invades the deepest corners of your mind. At some point, you crave a dose of silence, a chance to look inward and uncover what you've been ignoring. External noise doesn't just blur our view of the world, it clouds how we see ourselves. We're caught in a race, chasing words, notifications, and constant busyness. Who can pause in this chaos? More importantly, who dares to? In a world where notifications demand attention, endless conversations fill our minds, and we try to drown out every silence with faster words, we can't help but feel time slipping away. What if silence was your most powerful tool? To understand the importance of silence, let's pause and consider what it truly means. Silence isn't just about not speaking. It's a space free from the noise that distorts your inner world. A sanctuary where you can hear your deepest thoughts, often drowned out by daily stress. In other words, silence isn't emptiness. It's an opportunity to discover yourself. Throughout history, countless individuals have stepped away from the chaos to embark on a profound journey of self-understanding. Silent retreat, an ancient and powerful practice, allows you to step back and observe without the need to react or respond. It's a radical act of pausing, creating space to focus on what truly matters. In an age of information overload and endless noise, silence is like a refuge amidst the storm. At first, it might feel unsettling, even intimidating, because we're so used to filling every gap with words, ideas, and sounds. In silence, there's nowhere to hide. You're left face to face with yourself. As Seneca said, serenity is the greatest good. But to find this good, you must first learn to be silent. Seneca wasn't just talking about not speaking. He meant stepping back to see life from a broader perspective. 2. Listening with soul. Have you ever noticed how, when someone speaks, we often focus on formulating a response instead of truly listening? It's as if we're programmed robots, primed to reply rather than understand. Listening has lost its essence. replaced by an almost compulsive need to be the first to interject with an idea or judgment. Stoic philosophy, that ancient school of thought emphasizing calm, reflection, and self-control, teaches us something deceptively simple yet incredibly difficult. Don't act on impulse. This pause isn't just about controlling reactions. It's about how we engage with others. Stoics believe that, just as emotions need managing, our responses should wait for the right moment. Imagine how many misunderstandings, unnecessary arguments, or awkward moments we could avoid if we just listened instead of speaking thoughtlessly. This doesn't mean becoming a passive bystander. It's an invitation to think and listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. When someone is going through a tough time, our first instinct is often to offer advice. If I were you, I'd do this, or maybe try that. But what if all they need is someone willing to listen, without rushing to fix their problems? The power of attentive listening lies here. You don't need to have all the answers. Just be present. Often people don't want a quick response. They want someone who listens without interrupting, judging, or dismissing their words. If we learn to listen this way, our relationships will deepen, and our interactions will become more genuine. But this requires stepping out of the automatic mode, where our minds are always chasing the next great idea or perfect moment to jump in. From the Stoic perspective, true wisdom lies not in the words we speak, but in the space we create between them. The strategic pause. Have you ever noticed how your body instinctively reacts when someone makes a provocative comment or a situation escalates? Of course, it happens to all of us. The real question is, have you ever stopped to think about what you're doing? Or do you let momentum carry you away? Controlling your emotions isn't something you master overnight. It's a skill honed over time. As humans, we have a trigger for every slight, be it unwanted criticism, a misinterpreted glance, or a simple misunderstanding. In those moments, our instinct is to respond defensively. What happens next? Often we spiral into a cycle of hasty reactions that worsen the situation instead of resolving it. Think of a recent moment when you reacted impulsively. Maybe an argument with someone close or a stinging remark at work. That quick response probably didn't help. The Stoics understood this well. This ancient philosophy doesn't mince words. True power lies not in reacting but in pausing. Instead of fighting emotions, Stoics observed, understood, and decided whether action was worthwhile. A moment of reflection can prevent days of regret. Strategic silence isn't about punishing others. It's about giving yourself space to think and refocus. In the heat of conflict, imagine someone who stays silent, radiating a quiet unease. Their presence says, "I'll let you speak, but I choose not to play your game." This kind of calm demonstrates the power of silence. It's not weakness, it's strength in disguise. At first, it might feel like you're missing a chance to defend yourself, but in reality, you're defending yourself with composure, intelligence, and above all, dignity. As Epictetus said, the true display of power lies not in what you say, but in what you choose to keep silent. 4. Calm in the storm. Picture yourself in the eye of a storm. Not a literal hurricane, but a metaphorical one. Life feels like it's unraveling. Family issues pile up, work feels like a battlefield, and your friends, if you can still call them that, are either supportive or just watching the drama unfold. You're trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, thoughts, and stress, unsure if you'll stay afloat. Now, instead of running or panicking, imagine pausing, taking a deep breath, and becoming the calm center of this chaos instead of chasing it. Yes, it sounds like a cliché self-help mantra, but what if I told you there's real wisdom in this? Something the Stoics knew and practiced. Staying calm amidst chaos is more than a psychological trick. It's a survival strategy. Not just any strategy, but one of stepping back, staying silent while others shout, and resisting the emotional current. This inner calm allows you to make rational decisions instead of acting on fleeting impulses. You've probably learned this the hard way more than once. Consider a simple example: a tense family dinner where everyone's defending their opinions, dredging up old grudges, voices rising, and the argument spiraling. The room buzzes with tension, and you feel the urge to jump in, to fix the debate or defend yourself. But instead, you choose to step back. You say nothing, take a deep breath and observe. You notice who's upset and why, what emotions are driving the conversation. The argument rages on, but eventually everyone tires. Silence settles in. Then, calmly and clearly, you offer a few words to diffuse the situation. Suddenly, the room shifts. People listen. Your voice, rising calmly amidst the shouting, feels like a guiding light. Maybe your words end the argument, or offer emotional support to someone who needs it. Your silence creates an island of calm, capable of resolving even the most chaotic situations. This is where the power of silence shines. In the observation that precedes words, the patience to wait for the right moment, and the ability to stop chaos with a well-placed message. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we can't. The idea is to let emotional winds blow fiercely, but not let them sweep you away. Stay centered, because your true power lies in that silence. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, serenity is not the absence of the storm, but the ability to stand firm within it. 5. The wisdom of observation. Have you ever considered that what you need isn't to have an answer for everything, but to learn to stay silent? It sounds strange because we're so used to being the star of our own story that the idea of being an observer feels dull. But how many times have your emotions overflowed simply because you didn't know how to step back? In a noisy world where everyone shouts their opinions and demands quick answers, the art of silent observation is often lost. When faced with a tough situation, our first instinct is to respond, defend, or jump in. Yet Stoic wisdom, often seen as a tough philosophy, invites us to something simpler. Step back. The observant mind is like an audience member in a theater. It doesn't get swept up in the plot, but understands it better. This approach requires immense discipline because, while everyone around you expects you to speak, staying silent isn't easy. Sometimes the best move is to do nothing at all. By pausing without rushing or intervening, you create a space of calm that opens the door to deeper understanding. Instead of emotionally engaging with every event or conversation, imagine yourself as a bridge over external stimuli. Sounds absurd? Let me tell you, most of your problems stem not from what happens, but from how you react to it. If you let yourself get caught up in everything that affects you, you become a ping-pong ball in a chaotic game. But if you master non-judgmental observation, your mind becomes a far more powerful tool. Start simply in practice. Whenever a situation frustrates you, give yourself permission to step back. You don't need to do anything extraordinary or become a Tibetan monk. Just observe. What are you feeling? Why do you feel this way? Is reacting right now truly necessary, or can you afford to wait? When the world pushes you to speak, if you manage to stay silent, you'll be surprised to see how often others start begging for your input. And in that moment, you'll realize all the control lies with you, not because you imposed yourself, but because you gave yourself the chance to see things from a different perspective. 6. When silence speaks louder. Sometimes words are unnecessary. You know this well. There are moments when the smartest thing you can do is stay silent while the world moves on around you. It's ironic because we live in a society that constantly tells us to speak, express, and show ourselves. But what happens when you just stay quiet? I'm not talking about awkward silences or the long pause between a hello and a goodbye. I mean the kind of silence that expresses more than words ever could. The kind that becomes an invisible yet powerful response, like a resounding slap. You've probably experienced this. In the middle of a conversation, you feel it spiraling into a tunnel with no exit. You know speaking further is pointless, but the other person keeps going. The worst part? Every word you say risks making things worse. So why not step back and let silence do the talking? It turns out what unsettles people most is profound silence. In the midst of a confrontation or disagreement, someone who stays silent yet leaves a deeper mark than the one still arguing. How is that possible? In such moments, Silence acts as a mirror, reflecting what the other person doesn't want to see or accept. Think of a time when you chose not to respond in a heated exchange. How did the other person react? Often, silence tests their patience, giving them a chance to reflect on what they're really saying. More importantly, it shows that your value lies not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. This isn't about being passive or submissive. It's about knowing when to step back and when silence will speak more powerfully than any sentence. The Stoics knew not everything requires a reaction, and often the best response is the one you don't give. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. The person who stays silent isn't weak, but steadfast. In that space of silence, instead of losing your cool, you find yourself. The other person may not understand your silence at first, but eventually, they'll see it's far more impactful than any shout or empty word. 7. The art of letting go. Every time you cling to something or someone, doesn't it feel like life slips through your fingers no matter how hard you try? The stress feels like an unstoppable wave crashing over you. What if I told you the secret lies in letting go, stepping back? Yes, it sounds like a line from a cheap self-help book, but hear me out. What they don't tell you is that letting go is the most powerful action you can take. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning your emotions or the things you love. It's about realizing that what you love doesn't own you. Constantly chasing what you think you need is exhausting. Holding on is the easy part. Letting go is the hard part. The trick is this. Letting go isn't surrender. It's liberation. Releasing your grip brings clarity and control. Imagine being in an endless argument. One of those debates that feels important but is really just about proving who's right. The impulse is to keep talking, adding more arguments. But what if you stepped back and stayed silent? Not out of cowardice, but understanding. Stoic philosophy talks a lot about this kind of detachment, not in a romantic or spiritual way. The Stoics didn't advocate retreating to the mountains or treating detachment like a cure-all aspirin. They meant letting go is about accepting what you can't control and focusing on what you can. It's not about giving up on what you love, but freeing yourself from the weight of expectations and anxieties created by events and people. If you let go of those expectations, you'll discover a peace you never imagined. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. If it were easy, we wouldn't be scouring the internet for quick fixes or buying books promising freedom from our burdens. When you grasp the power of stepping back, you realize you're not losing anything. Instead, you're gaining a patience no one and nothing can take from you. The power of patience. How many times have you tried to rush things forward? We've all fallen into the trap of thinking waiting equals passivity, as if it's a wasted moment. But let me tell you, what's a chasm of inaction for some is an opportunity for others to observe, reflect, and act better. That's where true power lies, in the underestimated virtue of patience. When you feel overwhelmed by the anxiety of needing to have it all, patience is often the answer. Imagine you're in a conversation. The other person is talking, but you're not really listening. You're waiting for your turn to speak, eager to share your thoughts. What happens? The dialogue feels rushed, you miss key details, and you end up saying things you didn't mean to. Now imagine the opposite. You step back, stay silent, and don't rush. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple response becomes a profound thought. This principle is as old as time. The Stoics, for example, perfectly understood the power of waiting. To them, patience wasn't just enduring or surviving. It was a form of wisdom, a method for thinking before acting. As Epictetus said, "The surest sign of strength is restraint." Modern life is filled with pressure to move fast, make snap decisions, and avoid wasting time. But true power lies not in quick responses, but in wise ones. These responses grow when you pause, observe the landscape, and act thoughtfully. I'm not saying you need to become a hermit or wait forever to act. I'm saying true strength often lies in not rushing, in letting things unfold naturally. Step back, stay silent, and watch how others start begging for your input. The power of patience and waiting isn't just a philosophical concept. It's a practical, powerful tool we can all use in daily life. As Nelson Mandela said, waiting is not the absence of action. It's the anticipation of what's to come. 9. The peace of acceptance. Have you ever felt so lost that you didn't know whether to curse or hide under the covers and escape everything? That crushing frustration when you realize something you've fought to change is still beyond your reach. It's as if the world is conspiring to stack obstacles in your way. What if I told you the deepest change comes not from altering events, but from choosing how to view what you can't change? Let me introduce you to acceptance, that deceptively simple concept that always seems so hard to apply. The truth is, accepting what we can't change isn't surrender. It's stepping into a calm space where you can see with greater clarity. Add a touch of Stoic philosophy, and you've got a powerful ally. This isn't about giving in to everything, but recognizing what's beyond your control. The Stoics argued we can't change what's outside our control, but we can control how we respond. The key is an observant, non-judgmental perspective, avoiding the rush to label events as good or bad. Acceptance allows us to witness events without letting emotions take over. It's an invitation to step back from the drama of the moment and see things from a broader perspective. How do you practice acceptance? First, remind yourself that not everything needs to be changed, fixed, or solved in the moment. By giving yourself permission to accept things as they are, you free yourself from the burden of controlling every detail. Second, allow that inner silence to grow. It becomes a tool more powerful than any defense strategy. Finally, be patient, because lasting change doesn't happen overnight. As the ancient sages said, peace is found not by changing the world, but by changing how you see it. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I'm more valuable for staying silent." Because silence is more than an action, it's a stance. When you stay silent, your thoughts speak instead of your words. This makes you more understanding, profound, and impactful. This comment will show you're part of a community that understands the power of silence and will help spread this message to more people. Discovering the power of silence isn't just about watching, it's about bringing change to your life. Share what you've learned from this video or how silence has impacted your life in the comments to deepen these ideas. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to keep joining us on this philosophical journey. Your support is my greatest motivation for creating this content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, silence sometimes says more than the loudest words.